Welcome to the program. President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared that the KDF will remain unbowed as they continue to protect our borders. The president spoke as the remains of our fallen soldiers arrived back home from Somalia. KTN's Rita Tinina begins our coverage on honoring our heroes tonight with this story.
Monday, 9:55 p.m., the Kenya Air Force plane carrying the remains of 4 fallen KDF soldiers touched down at the Wilson Airport, where a somber mood prevailed as Chief of Defense Forces General Samson Mwathethe, Kenya Air Force Commander Samuel Doita, and Defense Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo waited to honor the fallen heroes. Where soldiers too waited to receive the remains of their colleagues who paid the ultimate price in efforts to safeguard the country. Draped in the Kenyan flag, the caskets bearing the remains of the soldiers were removed from the aircraft in a ceremony conducted with military precision. The caskets were placed on tables with the soldiers' hats on the caskets.
And indeed, our motherland, the nation of Kenya.
2 chaplains and an imam conducted prayers before the bodies were taken away in ambulances. The bodies are the first to be brought home following the Friday dawn attack on a KDF camp by Al-Shabaab militants. 4 injured soldiers were airlifted back home on Sunday, while 15 survivors who were not injured during the attack arrived back home shortly after midday on Monday.
We continue to urge for patience in this matter. It is a complicated matter that we want to handle meticulously. We want to handle carefully for the benefit of the families of our soldiers.
As the country received its heroes, President Uhuru Kenyatta addressed the nation from Mombasa, saying Kenya is not leaving Somalia anytime soon until its mission to eliminate the Al-Shabaab is achieved.
I'm proud to say that our forces are ready to do their duty. Their bravery is undimmed, and for this, we, as a nation, are grateful to all of them.
The president, who termed the Al-Shabaab as enemies of humanity, says Kenya remains unbowed in its war against terror.
Kenya will move forward. To those misguided elements who think that their cowardly actions have shaken us, let me tell them today that their actions have only made us stronger and emboldened us in our determination to defeat them.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces says the fallen heroes will be buried in line with military traditions.
To pray for our heroes and their families, and for all our forces in Somalia, as well as those within our borders who spend sleepless nights ensuring that we are all safe.
Tumesema tutasimama imara pamoja. Leo hii nimeongea na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Nimemwambia katika hii kashfa tuko pamoja kama Wakenya wote. Nasema pole kwa wazazi, kwa wadada, kwa ndugu ambao wameifiwa huko.
The number of casualties from Friday's attack by the Al-Shabaab on the KDF camp in Somalia remains unclear as such rescue and recovery efforts continue. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
It has now been close to a week since the horrific ambush of Kenya Defense Forces soldiers at the Eladi base in Somalia's Gedo region. But questions have been raised over President Uhuru Kenyatta's absence at Wilson Airport to receive the bodies of slain courageous soldiers. Today, the Commander-in-Chief issued a statement from Mombasa. And tonight, we share our reporter Muremi Mwangi's letter to the President.
Hello, Mr. President. First, allow me to extend my gratitude for your good gesture of hospitality to our coastal people, sparing close to a month of your tight schedule to be with our brothers and sisters at the coast who have for many years lamented against marginalization by all post-colonial governments, including your very own digital administration, Mr. President, is no simple task. But as you are already aware, sir, during your stay at the coast, some caskets have been arriving at Wilson Airport. They are not empty caskets, Your Excellency. They bear the remains of our men, probably even women killed in Somalia, sir. We still don't know how many, and it's possible that we may never know unless you decided to tell us, sir.
Tungependa watu warakishi kututafutia wale wako msituni. Ama watutole majina.
Let us rally behind our gallant soldiers. Let us thank God for them and ask for his protection and guidance over them.
Once again, Your Excellency, these callous, bloodthirsty murderers who we went to fight in Somalia have killed our people. It is a painful moment, Your Excellency. We are in mourning, and I know it's even more painful for you, sir, as the commander-in-chief of these courageous men now lying lifeless inside these caskets.
Peace and security have their price. Our job is to minimize the risk to our people, and I'm proud to say that our forces are ready to do their duty.
But I'm worried, sir. We are worried, Your Excellency. We have been searching everywhere for you. At Wilson Airport, there is no trace of you here, sir. You are still at the coast, and finally, your voice has been heard, days after the killings. But how I wish you were here, sir, to lead the nation in mourning and to show solidarity with the bereaved. But maybe also to salute these men, Your Excellency, for their unforgettable acts of valor.
Ingekuwa maybe ni ministers watano wamevamiwa na Al-Shabaab wakakufa, singekuja mbio. Hapa pia ni binadamu kama sisi. Unaona? Hawa KDF ni important hata zaidi because wanalinda nchi. Angeweka first priority ya kufika kuwajulia hali, kujua ni vipi.
Ilikuwa ni kitu cha maana vile kwenda katika shughuli zingine kando na kwenda kuwapokea na kuwaonyesha heshima, upendo ambao walikuwa wakifanya huko Somalia.
In the United States, I'm told, Mr. President, the head of state is always among the first senior state officials to receive the bodies of U.S. Marines killed in the course of the country's global fight against terror. Well, like on this day in the year 2009, when I hear, Mr. President, that Barack Obama traveled all the way to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to honor 18 Americans killed in Afghanistan, how I wish, Mr. President, you'd take you from this son of the Kenyan soil.
The problem that we had in Garissa University, remember, he personally wrote some letters to parents, and that was more than even the finances that were being offered. He has the responsibility of talking to the nation and receive the bodies as the person in charge. Let us feel that he is concerned.
God bless you, God bless Kenya, and God bless our fallen heroes.
God bless you too, Mr. President. I hope my message finds you well, and that, sir, you will probably spare some time and visit some of the mourning widows and orphans who have been looking everywhere for the answers. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
A lot has been said about President Uhuru Kenyatta's absence at the Wilson Airport to receive bodies of fallen KDF soldiers. We have had Muremi Mwangi's letter to the President. On the big question tonight, we are asking you, what is your message to the Commander-in-Chief? SMS your opinion to the number 22155. You can also share your views online on Twitter with us on hashtag Dear Mr. President. Let's move to the county of Kakamega, where the family of Stephen Mwanesi is undergoing turmoil. His father, Ephraim Manjeri, is however convinced that Stephen is still alive. Let's join KTN's Dorcas Wangira for more on that story.
Ndio najua yeye pengine hawezi. Ningeenda huko mimi mwenyewe. Ningeenda na nimjue. Tumevumilia siku 4. Tumevumilia sana.
Grace Mwenesi believes that her son, 29-year-old Stephen Ngota Anjera, is still alive. She hasn't been at peace since she received the news of the Al-Shabaab attack. She's always watching the news.
Kwa ndege. Nikaona tunaona Stephen pengine atashuka hako. Nikaona hashuki. Stephen siaoneko. Siani urumieko tu mimi.
His father Ephraim Manjeri tells us that Ngota had always looked forward to joining the Kenyan army. When he made the cut in 2010, he was overjoyed. He first went to Somalia in 2012, the same year KDF captured Kismayo, and by their account, he was deployed to Mandera afterward. His fiancée, Gloria Cheprotich, was the one who last communicated with him. This was online via WhatsApp last Thursday. She says that he had confided in her that he preferred to be in Somalia to Mandera. He went late last year, and after the attack, they haven't heard from him.
Kaniambia, it's better twende Somali than kukaa in border. It is very risky. So akaniambia, but tunajikaza tu. Then sikujua ataenda because he was to come home for leave on December. But baadaye akaniambia siwezi kuja, tumambiwa twende kazi. Then I told him ni sawa tu, haina shida. Akaniambia will be coming on July this year.
His father and his brother say they have been calling the given helplines and even gone to the army barracks in Eldoret. They still have no information about his fate.
Undergoing a lot of agony and a lot of problems and a lot of trouble. My plea to the government is to give us the information where our sons are. We have tried all avenues to reach him, but we have not been successful. Up to yesterday, I went to Moi Barracks in Eldoret. There was no any information.
Tunaomba serikali ituambie penye wako. Tujue penye wako. Naomba Mungu ako hai. Naomba serikali tafadhali. Ndugu yangu anatupenda.
He had plans of proposing officially and taking dowry to his fiance's parents. They had been making plans since 2014, but his deployment always came between them.
Sababu tunaamini we have so many wenye wamepotelea msituni. Wamepotelea msituni na sijui kama wanasaidiwa. But I know he's there. Sidhani kama amekufa.
For many families, it's the agony of not knowing what has happened to their sons that pains the most, the silent frustration in not getting answers from the government or army officials. This family is hopeful that their son will come back. Dorcas Wangira, KTN News, Kakamega.
The long wait continues as families of Kenya Defence Forces officers who are deployed inside Somalia continue to wait for information on their kin. Now, today the president finally issued a statement, but there has been a lot of reaction online, especially on President Uhuru Kenyatta's absence at Wilson Airport to receive the bodies of the slain KDF soldiers. On the big question tonight, we are asking you, what is your message to the Commander-in-Chief? You can share your views online on Twitter on hashtag Dear Mr. President. You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. We'll take a quick break. Don't go too far. Welcome back to KTN Prime. Let's switch gears to some politics now, and it is with a sigh of relief that Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula goes to bed tonight. This is after a special committee of Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission ruled that there is no lawful justification to delete his name from the voter register. KTN's Patrick Amimo now reports.
It was a packed court as CORD leader Raila Odinga led the CORD brigade to hear the verdict of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Special Committee on whether the name of CORD co-principal and Senate Minority Leader Moses Wetangula should be deleted from the voter register. Outside the court grounds, Supporters gathered to await the ruling as police kept a keen eye on who will be troublemakers. In a show of solidarity, Code Co-Principal Kalonzo Musyoka cut short his visit in Germany to attend the ruling. The issue arose after the March 2013 general elections when Bungoma High Court Judge Francis Gikonyo found that Senator Moses Wetangula engaged in tweeting and bribery of voters. The High Court nullified the election and wanted Wetangula barred from subsequent elections. But the Court of Appeal allowed Wetangula to contest the by-election pending determination of the appeal he had lodged against the election offences ruling. In December 2013, Wetangula won the Bungoma senatorial by-election with a landslide. The win was not contested. In March last year, the Supreme Court upheld the decisions of the High Court in Bungoma and Appeals Court in Kisumu that found Wetangula guilty of voter bribery. Wetangula was accused of donating 260,000 shillings to pastors in Bungoma in the run-up to the 2013 polls, which was regarded as an inducement. This was the issue the Electoral Body's Special Committee was to consider and whether to delete Wetangula's name from the voter register as per the provisions of Section 87 of the Elections Act.
The report from Supreme Court merely stated that election offences of treating and bribery were established. Nowhere in the report did the judges of the Supreme Court or any other court that consider this matter convict Senator Moses Wetangula within the meaning of Section 9 of Elections Act. We are persuaded that a conviction on charges relating to election offences should be made within the context of a criminal trial so as to satisfy the strict constitutional requirement of a fair trial.
We find and hold that there is no lawful justification to delete the name of Senator Moses Wetangula from the register of voters. So that is our finding and judgment.
A comparative analysis of the election petitions found that in Uganda, for instance, at the conclusion of a hearing where an election offence has been committed, the name of the culprit is sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions to prosecute the crime. In Ghana, judges write a report to the Attorney General giving the name of the offender for action.
So international experience from countries faced with similar circumstances appear to suggest that trial for election offences, whether or not discovered in the course of the trial of an election petition, shall be confined to the criminal jurisdiction of the justice system. We are in agreement with the apparent difficulty pointed out by the High Court and confirmed by the Supreme Court as to the application of Section 87(3) as read with Section 9 of the Elections Act and the recommendation for legislative intervention by the Attorney General.
I want to thank the committee for the research that the committee has carried out. And I would ask you very sincerely that this determination, copies thereof should be sent to the Speaker of the Senate.
Where I come from in the Luya Nation, we have a saying that lightning does not strike the same tree twice. And you have determined in very clear terms.
Had the special committee gone ahead and deleted Wetangula's name from the voter register, he would have lost his seat and position as minority leader in the Senate, which would have been a big blow to the opposition code.
Mnajua vile walijaribu kwa sababu walijua Kalonzo na Raila hako kwa bunge, walikuwa nasema yule kinara yuko pale wa mngoe. Ndio akasababisha by election ya Bungoma, watu wa Bungoma wakafanya kama wenzao wa Makueni, wakafunza Jubilee adabu.
Sisi kama wana code hatuwezi kutishwa, hatutisiki. Watajaribu hapa na pale lakini watashindwa.
Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula can now breathe easy after the IEBC ruling. The Code Brigade now says they'll focus on the 2017 general elections to ensure that they form the next government. Patrick Amimo, KTN News, Nairobi.
Big news for the opposition Code coalition. And in the county of Bungoma, Wetangula supporters received the news with joy and jubilation. Here's KTN's Robert Wanyonyi from Bungoma.
Supporters of Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula waited for the court ruling with bated breath. As early as 8 in the morning, small groups of people were spotted within Bungoma town as the court ruling that was set to shape the political future of the Bungoma senator was expected. And some took the opportunity to air their expectations.
Uamuzi ya IPC iwache Wetangula kwa register
aendelee kuania kiti, atetee kiti cha president.
Some accusing Wetangula's political opponents of having a hand in the case facing their senator.
An IEBC, which is an act of parliament, cannot override the constitution of Kenya. Kwa hivyo tujue kwamba Weta ni mheshimiwa wa Bungoma County and they must be respected constitutionally, na above all ijulikane kwamba IEBC does not override the constitutional offices.
As the clock ticked towards midday, a heavy security presence was witnessed in Bungoma town and its environs, the security personnel taking turns in watching the proceedings. Soon after the ruling was delivered, hundreds of relieved supporters of the senator broke into song and dance within the streets of Bungoma town in a move that brought businesses to a standstill. They expressed satisfaction with the ruling, with some claiming seeing a political hand in the whole matter.
Mimi nashukuru bwana wametusaidia. Sababu si kama Bungoma tunapenda Wetangula, na Wetangula acha endelee kuongoza na aongoza hata 2017 asimame. Sisi wa Bungoma ndio tuamue kata mpigia ama tutampigia.
We also managed to get an exclusive interview with the senator's father Dominic Wetangula, who was equally elated with the ruling.
Na siku ya leo commissioner ambaye ilitoa ruling yao imenifurahisha, na leo nitalala, nitakunywa chai yangu mzuri, hata kina mama wangu nitawachinjia mbuzi.
While the court ruling was seen as giving the Bungoma senator a new lease of political life, others viewed it as an occurrence that will enhance fragile peace and harmony in the western region.
Kama kesi hii haijafaulu, ingelete kutokuwa na security katika nchi hii.
Tuko na wasiwasi kwamba amani haingekuwepo, lakini kwa ajili ya yale ambayo yametokea leo, tuna imani kwamba kila kitu kitakuwa vyema na tunamuunga mkono.
Wetangula supporters are now saying they have every right to celebrate, having accused their Jubilee counterparts of having a hand in the case, and now they say all is well that ends well, and now they are focusing on the next general elections with the senator. Robert Wanyonyi, KTN News.
And Bungoma Governor Ken Lusaka has also welcomed the IEBC's ruling, calling it fair. Away from that, only a few days after we aired the story on the deplorable condition of Nuru Primary School in Tiati constituency, the Standard Group Limited has stepped in to help. The company has opened a pay bill number for a school that conducts its classes under a tree and uses stones as seats.
It is a situation that these pupils have learnt to survive with here at Nuru Primary School, East Pokot, Tiati. Using stones as their seats while learning under a tree, especially the lower class pupils, even though the upper class pupils are not so better off.
Wild animals.
They use one room for two classes running concurrently.
Crocodile.
Those in class 8 now have braved the situation that up until now has not changed. It is said the constituency has received 877,374,051 shillings as CDF since 2003 until now. After KTN News and the Standard newspaper highlighted the story, the situation elicited reactions from Kenyans on social media and even other leaders within the county who criticized the state of the school. Speaking on phone, Baringo County Education Director Dr. Daniel Mosbey noted that he was not aware of the school from the fact that the area has in the recent past faced insecurity, though they now plan to revert the situation. The school head teacher Paul Lona Pangole has however been summoned to the county education offices to shed more light on the issue. As of now, though, the Standard Media Group has opened a pay bill number for the school. The pay bill number is 505601, Nuru Primary School Fund.
Number value.
And until some help comes, the pupils will have to endure the struggle some more. Kamche Menza, KTN News, Baringo County.
Right, and to our top story, on Monday night, Bodies of 4 slain Kenya Defence Forces soldiers arrived at Wilson Airport draped in the Kenyan flag and received by the Defence Secretary Rachel Omamo. On the big question tonight, we are asking you, what is your message to the Commander-in-Chief? Very quickly, Moses Shauri says to just take charge, period. Joseph Ochil says do not concentrate on wooing coastal voters, yet our soldiers are being slaughtered. Paul Mwani tweets, Mr. President, don't remove our military from Somalia. And Stella Gatogo says, dear Mr. President, if only you led through actions and not mere words, if only you were here to receive the heroes. And John Angal also tweets, dear Mr. President, my letter to the President is that he withdraws KDF from Somalia. Joe Carroll says, please stop this war in Somalia. All it's doing is hurting our economy. And Wendy Rachel says, I am saddened by the absence of the President during the arrival of our lost heroes. Dear Mr. President, Zachary Odongo says, dear Mr. President, put Kenya first. The fallen KDF soldiers were fighting for Kenya. And Ole Kapei says, dear Mr. President, we're not asking for more. At least lead the nation in receiving and honoring our fallen heroes. Keep sending in your question or opinion to the Commander-in-Chief online on Twitter on hashtag Dear Mr. President on our SMS line 22155. You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. After this quick commercial break, we have the latest in business, including that loss-making Kenya Airways have sacked their finance director. Stay with us.
And many thanks for keeping it KTN Prime. My name is Agony. Time to catch up with the latest from the business world. Well, loss-making carrier Kenya Airways has fired its finance director, Alex Mbugua, months after announcing a massive 29.7 billion shilling full-year loss. Mbugua has been at the helm of the carrier as the airline's fortunes dwindled. Announcing ever-worsening losses for the past 3.5 years, the company said finance director Alex Mbugua has been replaced by Dick Murianki, the cargo general manager, on an interim basis. The move comes just after KQ made changes to its top management team in response to demands by the Senate to restructure its operations before it can benefit from a taxpayer-funded bailout. Senate has called for the sacking of Kenya Airways CEO Mbuvi Gunze and possible prosecution of his predecessor Titus Naikuni, whom they blame for executing an aggressive expansion plan that left the airline in losses and massive debt. Analysts say KQ needs a large bailout urgently if it is to survive in November. The company said it had put in place measures to become profitable again within 2 years, but a few details about the plan have been released. And now to some news around the central bank. Well, the Central Bank of Kenya Advisory Committee meets on Wednesday, even as analysts project that the Monetary Policy Committee will leave the benchmark lending rate unchanged at 11.5%. According to most analysts KTN spoke to, the rate is likely to remain steady as the shilling hits off resilience, with the country's foreign reserves rising gradually and steadily and interbank rates showing stability. Last November, the MPC voted to retain the benchmark lending rate at 11.5%, backing the regulator's position that commercial banks should not raise lending rates. However, headline inflation accelerated to 8.01% in December of 2015 compared to 7.3% in November, rising above market expectations and busting the upper limits of CBK's preferred target of 2.5% to 7.5%. Of course, that particular development has a bearing when it comes to the interest rates in the country. Well, moving on now, Kenyans could be in for a tough year as the government struggles to fund the multi-billion shilling infrastructure projects it has lined up. According to analysts from global investment firm PineBridge, increased spending could see the government turn to heavy domestic borrowing as options to borrow overseas are proving to be rather costly, a trend that leaves income tax as a viable avenue to tap into for the state. Here's more on that.
With Kenya's economy pegged to grow above 5% in 2016, it may seem like this year has a lot to offer. But there is a caveat.
Our projections are the currency will be a bit more stable going forward, especially in the first quarter of the year.
Anecdotally, and the reports we're seeing, is that agriculture is still going to perform reasonably well over this rainy season.
Significant pressure is mounting to fund an ever-rising budget that stands at 2.2 trillion shillings this fiscal year. The country is taking up mega infrastructure projects ranging from the standard gauge railway, the 10,000 kilometers road annuity program, the last mile electricity connectivity, port modernization program, as well as the expansion of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And analysts from Pinebridge say funding these projects could come with a serious downside.
The government is under a bit of pressure to undertake what we call a fiscal consolidation, less to be much more prudent in the way it spends and much more targeted in its expenditures.
The National Treasury in 2014 went to the international markets to float a $2.75 million Eurobond. At the time, the debt was weighted at an average interest rate of 6.6%, but currently this option might not be feasible.
Dependent on whether the government can be able to raise the ordinary revenue, the level of borrowing is expected to increase. We've seen that has been the trend.
Given the interest rates that we see in the international markets for Eurobonds, I suspect that the government will be unlikely to look to seek Eurobond funding in 2016, because most African countries who've raised Eurobonds now would have to borrow money at about 10% or more in that market in US dollars. So I think it's much more likely that we're going to see local government borrowing continue and to fund this expenditure.
This then leaves the Treasury and the taxman in an awkward position, as revenue targets have consistently fallen below targets. So far, the state has already reviewed the value added and the excise taxes. And now the low-hanging fruit seems to be income tax, which will hit consumers where it hurts the most.
We're also going to see, wider, more taxes.
The onus will now be for the taxman and indeed the National Treasury to actualize the ambitious programs without contradicting the presidency, which has gone on record barring any new taxes being introduced without necessary justification. Agony, KTN Business.
Well, and with that report, we now want to hand you over to look at how the money markets have been performing, as well as the stock markets. The shilling still stabilizing, trading at about 102.27. My name is Agony. Let's catch up tomorrow as we bring you the latest from the business world.
An action-packed and sporty it has been. A very good evening and welcome to today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. Today we start on the rugby pitch, where after missing the opening two legs of the 2015-2016 HSBC World 7th Series, veteran Humphrey Khayange will join Shujaa squad to the third and also the fourth round, and that is in Wellington and Sydney respectively. Kenya Sevens head coach Benjamin Ayimba has named a very strong 12-man squad with
Veteran and former Shujaa captain Humphrey Khayange will be reunited with his brother Collins Injera for the first time since the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Khayange, who has been struggling with fitness after a string of injuries, last featured for Shujaa at the London leg in May last year. He will be playing for the first time under coach Benjamin Ayimba after his reappointment as the national team's coach.
Humphrey is a senior player that you rely on to make decisions, to help in the thought process of picking players with and picking them up whenever they're down, and it is something I'm very excited about, and working with them at training has been very pleasant.
Captain Andrew Amondel will also return to the squad after missing the first 2 legs due to family engagements. Augustine Lugonzo, Leonard Mugaisi and Frank Wanyama have been dropped from the team that played in the first 2 legs, with the Yimba handing Nakuru's Donald Oluoch his first call-up. Collins Injera, Biko Adema, William Mbaka, Billy Odhiambo and Bush Mwale remain in the squad.
It's a headache in terms of having to drop some of your senior players just because we've got to expose a younger one. It's a sacrifice that we all have to make.
They have worked very hard in training, and we expect our systems to work when we hit the ground. And we're going all out for this tournament, and we expect to get the best out of it.
Kenya is pooled in Group D alongside Canada, Australia and Portugal.
The players know what is at stake. The management is happy with how things have been going, and it is. I'll easily confidently say that we are looking to top the pool.
After a poor start in the first leg in Dubai, Shujaa picked up the pieces and managed to reach the main cup quarters in South Africa, where they amassed a total of 15 points. Lynn Washira, KTN.
Much thanks, Lynn Washira, for that report. Now we focus to the 2016 London Marathon, where this year we are going to have a very, very strong lineup of Kenyan athletes. We will have very instrumental 5 competitors representing Team Kenya. And one person who is very impressive will be leading the charges in the tie that is scheduled for 24th of April. This year is Eliud Kipchoge. Remember, Eliud Kipchoge actually is the defending champion. He won it last year, and he actually beat Dennis Kimeto, who was also in the lineup last year but finished 3rd. Wilson Kipsang is also scheduled to take part in this year's edition of London Marathon. Remember, Wilson Kipsang is the 2012 and also the 2014 London Marathon, but it won't be an easy tie when he goes up against Kipchoge. We also have Stanley Biwott. Stanley Biwott, actually in the last year's edition, he finished 4th, and this year is going to be his 4th year that he's taking charge. In 2014 rather, Stanley Biwott finished 2nd, and in 2013 he finished 8th. So people say he's not had the lucky charm, but maybe this is the year that he's going to at least show the world that he got what it takes to dance with the big guns. Also in that lineup for the Kenyans, we also have one person who's going to be making his debut, and that is a very instrumental Stanley Biwott. And now looking at the elite men who are going to be giving Kenya the run of their money, we have Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia. Remember, Kenenisa Bekele did not take part in any event in 2015 because of the injury, but he's back and he's a triple Olympic champion, and with the Olympics coming in August, he wants to show the Kenyans that he also has what it takes to go on and win that tie. We have Girme Gebreselassie, and this is an Eritrean, and actually he stunned the world during the last year's Berlin World Championship, winning that tie, and people are saying maybe this time round he's also going to do the same and maybe bag that title. We also have last year's winner in Rotterdam, and that is Abera, who also is going not only to be competing, but he'll also be going to try and get that victory. But a lot of people are saying that it will be a Kenyan affair because we have a very, very strong 5 competitors from Kenya. But that tie London Marathon 2016 scheduled for 24th April. Let's wait and see if the Kenyans have what it takes so as to bag that title. But now moving on to matters of cycling. Mountain cycling is a very positive venture of sports tourism here in the country and also in the different parts of the world, and is one way that it has been used for quite a number of times so as to promote this venture. But here in Kenya, I know a lot of people have been saying that mountain cycling has not been given the utmost pressure that it deserves, and the nurture and the talent that is here in the country also, people are saying that they have not been nurtured so as to be effective and productive as it should be. But Karen Derry filed a report where it shows that talent is there, and only what needs to be done is to curb and also to nurture this talent.
The recently concluded Mount Kenya Epic drew cyclists from both the local and international scenes. Mountain cycling was the key attraction, and through which Kenya might get a chance of nurturing talents outside the traditional activities that it is known for, such as running, rugby and soccer. David Kinja, the coach representing Africa Extreme, said there is a wide realm in outdoor activities for Kenyans.
Cycling sport through mountain biking, realization and development of young talents all through the country, but also the promotion and the growth of sport tourism in the country.
And while some perceive sports as what many would call a side hustle, Kinja says that cycling can be developed into a job if the proper mechanisms are put in place.
I chose riding because riding is one of the most things that I love doing. I believe in a bike is the only place that you can fly.
Julie Wahome, the managing director of Africa Extreme, who are the organizers of the Mountain Epic, says the plan has been to circumvent all the 6 counties that share Mount Kenya. This season has particularly been difficult due to the heavy rain.
This is an opportunity to create awareness about it and to try and encourage more people to get involved.
International participants were also drawn by the Mountain Epic event. Carol Derry, KTN, Nyeri County.
Weather in association with Morteen Dew.
No longer, because I bought Morteen Doom Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Morteen Doom Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
Tonight, the country continues to mourn the loss of Kenyan Defence Forces soldiers who lost their lives, brave sons of the land who lost their lives in Somalia after following Al-Shabaab's attack on Friday. On the big question tonight, we asked you, what is your message to the Commander-in-Chief, President Uhuru Kenyatta? Sam Onaga tweets, "This is the best time to wear KDF combat clothes I seen you wear some days back." Leo Kinodia tweets, "May God grant the President the wisdom and boldness as he continues leading this great nation." Joseph Odanga says, "This is the time our troops need you more than ever. Stop politicking and be a true Commander-in-Chief." Michael Murady says, "They lost their lives just for us to enjoy the peace. You're my heroes, my everything. Tears." And Andy on Twitter tweets, "Dear Mr. President, kindly prioritize last time when students were butchered, you also missed in action." Lodvik Oma tweets, "Dear Mr. President, those men sacrificed everything for our safety. They deserved a reception salute from you." And Miss Malune on Twitter says, "Dear Mr. President, you are the Commander-in-Chief. Please act like it. Our heroes deserve more. Cost can wait." And finally, Alice Sika says, finally here, one from CFM Africa says, "Don't reduce our heroes who died to statistics. We want to know them by name and mourn with their families." Many thanks for participating in our big question tonight, for sending those opinions, those messages to the President. There are too many of them. We cannot read even a fraction of them. Thank you for joining us on KTN Prime. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.